Okay, my agenda is in 5 key areas. The first area is in practice matters, because this is the bread and butter of the legal profession, the way we practice. And our members are saying that we need a law society that can ensure, can facilitate members' practice. I'll give you an example. In the courts, we still have a lot of problems in the courts, with cases moving slowly. Sometimes we have problems with judicial officers, sometimes it's with us lawyers seeking adjournments. Clients who don't find their cases moving in the courts are not happy. They will not give you extra work. We have problems with the failure to take up alternative dispute resolution. We have problems with most of the registries we practice in, like the lands registries, when you're doing land transactions. And the problem is that the Law Society of Kenya, that ideally should be engaged in this matter on almost, you could say, a week-by-week basis, tends to come in a reactive way. And I think all of us are partly to blame for that. But my focus will be to ensure that practice matters are dealt with as the first priority, continuous engagement. Like in the past 1 or so years, we've started setting up bar bench committees to improve the practice in the judiciary in a collaborative way between lawyers and members of the bench. My focus will be to strengthen these bar bench committees to ensure we can follow up on the resolutions. These are the kind of things members need. This is agenda number 1, practice matters. Right now, for example, and this is a last illustration of practice matters, in December last year, the President signed into law the Insurance Third-Party Motor Vehicle Risks Act. It was an amendment to the act that was existing to introduce compulsory structured compensation. Many of our colleagues as lawyers take their briefs in representing motor vehicle accident cases, or patients, or people who have suffered motor vehicle accidents. And these people suffer injury of different kinds. Sometimes the loss you suffer might be 10 million, 20 million. This amendment to the Act is introducing a limit of 3 million, clearly contrary to public policy. So these are the kind of things LSK should be working at to ensure they don't come in. And when they come in, we go to court and ensure we stop those laws because they're unconstitutional. Number 2 is members' welfare. You talk to many lawyers and they raise complaints about, for example, how they are treated at the Secretariat, how not just treatment at the Secretariat, how there's a general lack of continuous sensitivity to their concerns. The legal profession is one of the most powerful professions in Kenya. It has between 6,000 and 10,000 members. Those who take practicing certificates are about 6,000. It's a very powerful profession. We do not yet leverage up our power, like, for example, the accountants do, even the certified public secretaries. That will be my agenda number 2. Agenda number 3, which is critical, is that the power of LSK can only be achieved if you get more of the members participating in its activities and a more constructive participation. Right now, what you have is people come for compulsory continuing legal education, very passive. Sometimes they feel that it does not meet their needs, and then they go. So my agenda will be to come up with systems whereby members participate at the plenary level, at the branch level, committees, through constituent bar associations, and so on. Agenda item number 4 is going to be in the area of fiscal probity and financial creativity. My friend says that right now, LSK wants to construct a building of 1 billion shillings. And I think it is a worthwhile project. The problem is, if you're going to ask members to be the ones contributing a big chunk of that money and they can't afford, it's a problem. ISPA currently is engaged in an investment. This is the Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, of 1 billion. They've not even asked members for a shilling. So this requires financial creativity and fiscal probity, somebody who has integrity at the helm of these projects, who will lead a frugal council, who will be a frugal chairman. I believe that is me. And finally, number 5, my 5th key agenda is to ensure that LSK speaks with a firm, balanced, non-partisan voice, objective in matters legal and constitutional.
So, in your view,
yes,
Weda,
yes,
what is the shortcoming of the current leadership of the LSK? That we want to remove
now,
them
number one,
because of this. This is the reason that's motivated me to want to remove them.
Now, number 1, we have the law. We have a tradition. A chairman serves 2 years and leaves. And the Law Society has been in the forefront in ensuring what is called controlled power. When we see the likes of President Mugabe and the likes of President Museveni, we say we need limits. Now, we cannot have the temerity to talk about it when in our own LSK, you serve 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, and you go on and on and on. That culture we should not allow. It will take away our reputation. That is number one. Number two, under the watch and leadership of my brother and classmate and friend Eric Mutua, the Supreme Court of the Republic of Kenya, in petition number 5, Raila Odinga versus the Electoral Commission, Uhuru Kenyatta and the rest, the Supreme Court held, when the Law Society applied to be joined as a friend of the court, amicus curiae, in a unanimous decision, they said the Law Society cannot be a friend of the court because it is partisan, because the chair and his vice filed affidavit, a partisan affidavit in support of Raila Odinga's petition. That decision is there. It will remain until one day, if you have a House of Lords to overturn it. It is part of our dark history. Number 3 is this building, which is being rushed when our members are still hungry. We are still talking about bread and butter questions in Eldoret, in Nairobi, in Mombasa. Before we sort out, you cannot ask somebody earning 30,000, 20,000, and you say, I'll not give you a processing certificate until you contribute 52,000 shillings. And there are other things in that which I don't want to enter into. Number 4, we have only excelled in talking about public issues. But internally, I've told you, the rot is too much. Even when we come here, even you say, lawyers should be vetted. I've been here before, you say, you need to be vetted. Now, that is a symptom that there's a rot inside. We just don't, we defend, we say, okay, but internally as a leader, I reflect back and I say, I think we need to do something. And I have been, whenever we have an opportunity in training, I always tell our colleagues, let us clean our house in order. Start paying your taxes, be at peace with your clients. If you had wronged any client, call them back. Make your house in order so that in 2-3 years, we are clean. All this we need to do internally. We need a comprehensive medical cover, voluntary, as lawyers. We are 10,000. If we were to buy a cover where somebody contributes 5,000, lawyers, when they are sick, you are taken to somewhere in some hospital down there, and you die there quietly. Then your family sends the notice, then it is email. There is nothing. There is no touch. So we have done well speaking to the extent that we are deemed to be the opposition party. But internally we are. I want to engage. You are talking about the third party insurance risk, the one that was passed, keeping sailing. As a powerful law society, you don't just address the press or just go to court. We are so powerful that we can call the president and say, Your Excellency, please don't sign that. We are so powerful that we have almost 50 members in parliament. We have not even called them to sit and say, gentlemen, you are our brothers and keepers in parliament. We can lobby together. These institutions are about lobbying, they're about caucusing. It's not about addressing citizen TV and say, we condemn the president. Condemning alone is not enough. I want to be a leader that consults. If I have a problem with a citizen, I will call you and say, why did you say this about me? Then you tell me, Weda, we said that because we got this information. Say, it is wrong. Then you say, we'll change it. Now, it is when you say, no, we can't change it, that I say, now, in that case, I'll sue you. But here, we sometimes just react. You saw, I give you an example. When Mututo was appointed, he was appointed contrary to law. But as adults, you could clearly see the boss, the big man, has made a genuine mistake because he's not a lawyer. Somebody may have not told him the correct thing. As the law society, the way Jaramogi Oginga used to do. Remember Jaramogi Oginga, he would write a long letter to Moi, setting out all those issues. I can tell you in the law society for the last 10 years, we do not have a single letter advising and protesting on issues. What we do is to address the press. Is it getting publicity or trying to correct wrongs? Sometimes leaders, you tell them internally, you know, like if you do something wrong, I would come and tell him, please stop this. So before I shout, but when you start with, the king is naked, you attract negative force and they start fighting or they ignore.
Let me add something that it is true that LSK needs to have a very fine balance between a confrontational and consultational approach. I'll give you a perfect illustration. We have been trying to pass a new remuneration order. This is a statutory scale of fees, the minimum fees that are chargeable by lawyers. The last remuneration order is about 10 years old. And this is one of the first agenda items of the council that is now finishing its term in 2 months' time. This is an issue that would have worked very well with more consultative approach with the judiciary. But at a certain moment when, and I don't want to blame one individual, but I want to say that somehow LSK ended up being very confrontational on some issues with the judiciary and the Chief Justice in particular. This issue of the remuneration order that needs to be approved by the Chief Justice took a backseat. So all this time, some of us have been trying to push. This is a key agenda. Please, let's work on it. But it has taken a backseat. Issues like holding discussions with the members of the Law Society who are in Parliament, as my colleague was saying, that was one of my proposals actually to the council. The moment the new Parliament came in, I said, let us call our members who are lawyers, talk to them and start the process of lobbying. We have been very poor in this. I have been a convener of the Law Reform Committee, and I understand the challenges the Law Society has been facing in this issue. And yet again, we were not able to do so. Even on the issues of fiscal probity, I have been the treasurer of the Law Society of Kenya over the last 2 years, and I can tell you that the capacity of the Law Society in terms of finances and so on, if well handled with all the members of the council led by a chairman who understands the importance of fiscal probity, will work extremely well. But I think there is a sense in which we need to seal the loopholes, we need to mend the tears that have been there in the legal fabric, and then most importantly, we are moving into a society which is extremely sophisticated in terms of business. You have big businesses coming up, new areas where Kenyans in the economic and social engagements are doing new things. Lawyers are people who come to serve all these Kenyans because our job is to ensure that there is justice in dealings between people. And when there's a problem of injustice, we take the matter through dispute resolution mechanisms. Our profession has not advanced to that new era. And I think for me, one of the key things of my candidature will be to start that process of engaging with members, finding out what are their challenges, what is the business environment like, what can we do to adjust the way the Law Society of Kenya works, to make it updated and come to terms with the current reality of the economy and the society.
Right, many thanks. There has been a concern. There are some candidates who have been accused of bribery, offering sumptuous and mouth-watering lunches and dinners to woo voters. Any one of you, perhaps?
Let me start, because I can say with clear conscience and total integrity that I have not hosted any luncheon or dinner for members. I think personally that the approach of sumptuous lunches or dinners is not the way to go for the legal profession. However, I understand that as candidates are campaigning, they need to have forums or a situation whereby they can sell their agenda or communicate their agenda to members. I have tried to use more the written word as opposed to hosting lawyers.